For 107 days of the year, the first life to touch American soil does so here in Maine's Acadia National Park. For generations, this land has been a refuge. Mainers and vacationers alike marvel at the rugged coastlines, towering pines, and natural beauty the vacation land has to offer. Maine's wilderness provides a solitude found nowhere else. 50 miles to the west of Acadia, on the banks of the Penobscot River, lies the Queen City of Bangor. A small, picturesque New England city with a population of 30,000, Bangor's charm runs as deep in its people as it does in its roots. Once the world's largest lumber port, Bangor has traded in the mills and timber yards for hospitals, schools, and small businesses that now drive its economy. With major employers like Northern Light Health and the University of Maine nearby, Bangor has grown into a place of opportunity. Yet, like many growing cities across the nation, Bangor has struggled with one area in particular: homelessness. What's your name?
Matt.
How long have you been on here,
About 2 years.
2 years.
Do you guys have a name for this place?
NC.
Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
How rampant is the drug use out here?
Everybody here is either mentally ill or drug addict, or both. There's nobody here that's just normal that lost their job and wound up here, you know. Nobody in their right mind would live like this.
I'm the public information officer for the Bangor Police Department, and in that role, I get to deal a whole lot with the people who are experiencing homelessness in the city of Bangor. A whole lot. It's probably 3/4 of my job. Bangor, for whatever reason, we continue to lead the state in overdoses and overdose deaths. And I can't remember who has what between gangs out of New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts. It's excellent for fishing, and people are going to come to where the fish are. So that's why we get people coming from all over the place to ply their trade. And we know there are drug houses in Bangor, and we're working on shutting them down. It's very difficult because it's what we know versus what you can prove.
So the bucket behind us,
Hanging out the window?
hanging out the window, is their drop dope bucket. So people come, because they can't come to the front of the house anymore, they come to the back of the house, put the money in, bucket goes up, money comes out, dope goes in the bucket goes down, take your dope and go.
What's the sex trade like for drugs?
Absolutely, that's part of the gaining power and control is if you know that you have something that somebody wants, most people try and take advantage of that. Yeah, I would think that's accurate.
Would you think that's accurate or know that that's accurate?
I know that's accurate.
From experience?
Absolutely.
So that's something you've had to deal with a lot?
Oh yeah, but I have to deal with it for people that have nothing. Yeah, of course, they definitely. Yeah. That is definitely a thing.
The addiction rates, my schoolmates, all the males that I know, 90% of them have either been through it, struggling with it, or are dead, you know. I just wish there was help. There's just no help for anybody. No help.
Drugs and mental illness playing a huge part in homelessness was no surprise to us. What was a surprise was that so many people were struggling to get help. Throughout our time in Bangor, we learned that the city was full of organizations centered around the economy of homelessness. We went to talk to a few.
At Health Equity Alliance, we serve 3 targeted groups of folks. I work in the harm reduction department, which serves people who are in active substance use. We have our syringe exchange program, which provides safe use supplies for people to utilize to reduce the risk of transmission of HIV and hepatitis. We provide Narcan to keep people alive. We also provide testing for hepatitis and HIV in-house. On a daily basis, we see a range of folks battling a lot of different things. Some commonalities that I have experienced in my 6 years of being here is a lot of unhoused people and a lot of people battling with a lot of mental health, whether it be PTSD, depression. We have quite a few folks with living with schizophrenia, and we have folks who have as well drug-induced psychosis.
With drugs and mental illness comes a stigma, leading to societal rules that marginalize and exclude those affected, perpetuating a cycle of discrimination and isolation.
So you came in, you presented him with a paper, right? And that paper basically says, city property, no camping. But does it tell? Yeah, it tells you, yeah. But does it also tell them where he can go?
No, but I do have cards that have information on places that can get help. So,
But there's so many people that they're trying to deal with, there's not enough workers.
Right.
So I've been,
there's limited case workers in the city.
yeah, I can see the paper and I haven't seen her for months.
Now what happens for you, sir, when it's getting, I mean, last night it was 28 degrees?
28 up to 1
Yeah. And you're here, and then now you gotta go somewhere else. So what once you built to be more warm and comfortable, now you gotta go,
Carl, me again. It sucks.
Yeah. Do you ever worry about the weather and?
Every day. No, last one almost killed me.
It's getting to be the hard time here. McDonald's says you can go and use their hotspots and their power. They don't limit it.
Yeah, on time with them.
Right,
So they cut off a lot of the electricity for you to try to phone when they want it.
right.
Oh, they control the electricity?
Yeah, when
They control the outlets.
yeah.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. The one down Main Street, right?
And on top of that, there are other stores. I understand,
Sure, yeah.
I can't say for a fact, but if you're not a paying customer, they don't want you in Walbury. It's called loitering.
So we noticed over at Tent City, over at Hope House area, is that there's this, once upon a time, no fence, and we're talking less than 4 weeks ago, and now there's this big green monster fence.
Yes, that's very appropriate, green monster. Yeah, so that fence went up in about a week. It was paid for by InhuMaine Bangor, University of Maine, Augusta, the Bangor. And it's on city property, and it costs $77,000.
Like there's no more access into that area.
Yep. You drive up there, and you look off to your left, like, oh, campus, it looks kind of nice, kind of quiet. And you look off to your right, and you think, nope, I'm not going to school here. I'm not taking classes here. I'm not leaving my car parked on this campus. And again, a lot of property crime, and they have a lot of problems with the transients, people experiencing homelessness coming over, because there were some people that felt bad, oh, come in and use our restroom, come in and use our electric, and they had to rewire some of their buildings so they could shut off the outside outlets, because stuff was plugged in all over the place all the time. Yes.
Wait, the university?
They rewired some of their electrics so they can shut off some of their outside outlets, because people are coming over while their phone's charging, they're using drugs, they're doing other things they should not be doing out in public, and we're gonna make it stop. So you have to make it less attractive.
Tent City's unofficial nickname is actually Camp Hope. But for those living here, hope is a fragile thing. So while some spend their time and money blocking out the problem, others take action to make a difference.
So, how did you, what's the name of your organization?
Homeless.
And how did it come about, Ann?
My husband was really sick, and the oncologist told us that he probably won't make it through Christmas 7 years ago. And we read the police department page, Tim Cotton, that there was this little shelter that needed XYZ, and we provided it. And then we decided, oh, we could do a little bit more. Thankfully, you've met him, Ken made it, and 7 years later, we've gone from little lesson bags to food bags. We have 2 pantries full of groceries at the main space where our headquarters are. We get 80,000 bottles of water a year from, which used to be Poland Springs, but it's Blue Triton now. We do clothing, winter items. They'll call me for things that we've had people that need wound care. We started the wound care program in the city because the case managers were taking care of wounds themselves. So I'm talking about maggots in their legs, rotting limbs. I mean, you know, and everybody's human.
Right.
Our home is human.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you earlier, someone should not be discharged from the hospital in pajamas and a blanket. No shoes, just those hospital slippers. It's not right. And we just fill in those cracks.
If you could fix anything that you think is broken, what would that be?
There's so many things broken. There's too many gaps.
If you had the gift of a magic wand to be able to fix the problems that you see, what would you do?
An adequate supply of housing with ongoing supports. That'll solve the housing crisis, right? But at its core, it's poverty, right? And beyond poverty, the next step is natural and other supports. That's it. If you read the newspapers, you watch documentaries, you go to the conferences, you know, everyone's looking for a reason that homelessness exists, and they point to the person, not to the system.
And that's literally like, these are the kinds of things that we want to be able to say, because a lot of people don't think about, like, I mean, again, it sounds shitty, but stereotypically it's like, get a fucking job.
Yeah.
Right? Or, I'm gonna give you the money and you're just gonna use it to do drugs.
Yeah.
We don't think like, how fucking insane do you have to be to go into a shelter and try to curl up with your little bag, right? And hope that you can get some sleep while you're sitting there going like, I don't know where I'm getting breakfast tomorrow, or lunch, or dinner, or what the fuck's going on. I don't even know what the fuck's going on right now.
Yeah.
And oh my God, it's my mom's birthday, or whatever, some significant event because it's December 3rd. Or holy shit, we're gonna get 8 inches of snow tonight and tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck am I gonna do tomorrow?
Winter in Maine is relentless, with average temperatures just above freezing and lows that sink well below zero. The cold here is more than an inconvenience. It's deadly. For those without shelter, each step into the woods, each night spent in pure survival mode takes a toll. That toll comes at a price.
Investigators were back on the scene of a deadly fire in Bangor today, looking for answers as to what caused it.
Flames there very early yesterday morning claimed 3 lives. The men who died believed to just be looking for a way to get off the streets.
The 3 men who died are Andrew Allen, Dylan Smith, and Tim Tuttle, all 3 homeless.
Bangor city officials had nothing to say today about the ongoing plight of the city's homeless community. At least one of the men killed in that fire had been removed by the city from a tent encampment under the I-395 bridge just last week.
Tent City wasn't the only encampment in Bangor. Valley Ave was once home to about 20 people. A team from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development guided 40 workers from more than 10 local and state agencies through the process of closing down the encampment. They were given a choice: interact with services or leave. Initially, it was reported that everybody except one person was connected to some form of housing. 6 months later, it was reported that 1 out of 3 people had returned to living on the streets. 2 months after that, 3 people died in the fire.
These people have been shunned by their relatives, by their friends. I mean, some of them work and their bosses don't know that they're homeless. You know, they're paying to take a shower at the Y, or they do the best they can to clean up. It's sad. So, every once in a while I'll get discouraged. I mean, it's like, we had several people have died in their tents, either overdose or last year, a fire. I mean, like, these other nonprofits, we don't all work together well. We respect each other, but we don't play together, I guess you could say well. We had a guy just up at Tent City a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, that amputee, I don't know if it was amputee. He got out with a lot of burns. I don't know how he got out, but his propane heater.
We had a guy blow himself up at a tent up here, Tent City. He had a propane heater, fell asleep with a cigarette in his hand, and it went out until he woke up. His story, he survived, scorched a little bit, probably missing his eyebrows. And first thing he did was light a cigarette.
It was a war zone inside the tent. That's what I woke up to.
It's loud. It was like a 12-gauge shotgun right next to me. I happened to be looking that way, and the whole tent lit up. I could see his body frame in the tent. The explosion that blew up. I heard it inside the Hope House.
It was loud.
That's almost a mile from here. What happened was his propane valve was open. Somehow that ignited in his tent.
The chainsaw and the leaf blower.
It was, and so I started screaming out and run. And he had a nice North Face tent. Couldn't find the zipper. Could not find the zipper. I didn't have my knife. I reached for my knife, I had no knife. He's screaming, and I thought, in my mind, I thought he was probably going to be all 30 degree burns. I don't really live anyway, but I wanted to get my tent. It was inferno. The planes were this tall, and then like 5 seconds of this tall inside that tent. And he was screaming. Yeah, he just got his leg locked, his hand out.
It was
screaming, and he just started ripping the tent. Like he was on the other side of the tent, I couldn't tell.
As we began to understand the struggles that homeless people faced up here just to survive, one question persisted. Of all places, why Bangor?
Patterson, New Jersey. 5 months ago. Yeah, it was really bad there, and my ex, it's a really bad situation, domestic violence, beat the shit out of me for my paychecks. It was bad.
It's incredibly scary how close homelessness is for the majority of people in this country. You're a couple of paychecks away.
Yeah, or a situation like you're talking about with domestic violence, which that again doesn't get talked about.
I kicked my ex out, he kept breaking back in, and he had people call me, FaceTime, I have the spray recordings, gloved up, masked up, Glock in their hand, up to his head, threatening me, reading off my address, threatening my daughter, that if we didn't pay his debt, they were gonna kill us. Nobody knows this, she doesn't even know this. They locked me in a room, he shaved my head, because I got my hair done, I don't wig right now. I was in a truck for a month, because I didn't have anywhere to go. The shelters by us in Patterson are completely full, and
trying to find housing.
Yes. So I signed up for Section 8 before I even came over here, like when I first got to Maine. But that's one of the things that they help me
One
do
of the stipulations, you have to do that, to do the RAP application, you have to have already signed up for Section 8, but Section 8
can take up to 2 years.
You'll never get it. You'll never get it. I've seen people like 15 years later when their kids grown and then they get approved. Yeah, it's an impossible thing.
Section 8's all backed up.
Yeah, Section 8 is something that they're not taking it, anybody new that I know of, and my daughter's 8 now, and they still haven't accepted anything like that.
There are a whole bunch of people out there that have housing vouchers, they just can't find a place to live. And now, just the truly homeless we have that are living in tents that we have to keep finding around town, or new ones that come in, and some people go out, it's astonishing. When the HUD people were here last year, Housing and Urban Development, I was talking about it, it was just after the count in LA County, where they figured how many tens of thousands of people they had homeless out there. And these people know their stuff. I said, what do you think? He said, for the size of population we have way too many homeless people. And I found that interesting. And when we go talking to people, that so many of them are not from the state, not from this area. These aren't people who are living in Bangor and they found themselves homeless. I mean, there are some of us, absolutely.
Everybody puts them on a bus ticket, a free bus ticket. They get dropped off at the park and share ride place at 10:30, 11. You know, it's just, and I have worked.
You get tickets in, you mean? Like,
Yeah, they won't say it quickly, but they have a free ticket program. You say, you don't tell me you're homeless, you tell me you're homeless, but you have a job offer in Bangor. So you get a free one.
Really?
Or churches will buy you tickets. Or Repel will buy you bus tickets. Texas is big for it.
Why Bangor?
What?
Why Bangor?
Because it's the last stop, they're not gonna come back, and there's more people care more here.
This is the end of the line, the last stop. Every night at 11 p.m., a Greyhound bus arrives here from Portland. Unsheltered people from not only the rest of the state, but all over the country land here. The last and most northern city on the East Coast.
We've got to stop being a dumping ground for so many other communities, and we are, and we know it. Some of them are foolish enough to write it down. Oh, I told them they should go to Bangor because there are services available there. Oh, I gave them a ride to Bangor. Oh, I dropped them off in Bangor.
Jason, we heard that from some of the folks that came from a different state that were able to get free bus pass because they literally said, Bangor will take care of you.
Yeah, we won't. That used to be the case. It used to be very easy to get assistance here. It was plentiful because there weren't a lot of people.
This is what's known as Greyhound therapy. Unsheltered people from all over the country are sent elsewhere with the promise of better help and more care. Bangor has become a service hub, a refuge for people looking for a better way. But in recent years, the influx has overwhelmed the system.
They got me a train ticket and a bus ticket to get out of the truck because the guy kept trying to do shit.
These are people that fell on hard times somewhere else and came here because they thought they could get assistance. And we know there are a couple newspaper articles about police chiefs. Oh, we sent them to Bangor. You can't do that.
And she said she just couldn't have me there anymore. And
Dropped her off the shop like 2 days ago.
Dropped me off here. I don't know what I'm doing.
Something's going to have to change. I don't know what it is. So what we're doing now, we're pushing water uphill. This is not working. The definition is the same. Let's keep doing this. Okay, we keep doing the same. You understand that this is still, Jason and Taylor, go on, sir. Well, let's just keep going. And let's throw them.
So Nicole, I know you just found something out.
Yeah, I had a first week of being there that I'm pregnant. So that changed all the plans. I had a job lined up for construction in the spring. That went out the window. Can't do that now. So
How is it being pregnant in the shelter?
it sucks. Yeah, it just sucks. I don't know.
increasingly, we've had people who are in the library who are unhoused, who don't have a lot of resources, and a lot of those folks are looking for a place to be safe and safe from the elements and to be all day long. One of the reasons for that, and one of the reasons you see that nationally, is that there's across the nation, public libraries seeing their spaces being used as the last public space, right? In Maine, in the past, well, from like 2007 to 2023, there was a 60% increase in how many people were recorded in the point-in-time survey of homelessness. And so we see a huge increase in just a short period of time in how many people are unhoused in the library or unhoused in the state. I see the city doing stuff every day. The state government, I have seen less response from. We're the third largest municipality, the second largest municipal area in the state. There should be representatives of the state government here every day with jumpsuits on trying to resolve the situation.
I'm Joe Baldacci. I am State Senator from District 9, which is the city of Bangor and the town of Herman. Department of Health and Human Services has a Housing First program. We have given money to homeless shelters. We have promoted more housing or low-income housing. It's partly in our jurisdiction and partly in the Housing Committee jurisdiction. So, but in terms of the homeless issue, it's a statewide, national phenomenon, so just Bangor. I mean, they are people that came from other parts of the state. We had encampments here a couple of years ago, which was very concerning to me because of the public health dangers involved. I'm still concerned with about those who are encamped. They're still there, but it's a lot fewer. The city of Bangor has been actively involved with the homeless issue for a long time. It has limited resources, but it has supported and worked with the Bangor Homeless Shelter. It has supported and worked with the Hope House, which is a low barrier shelter, and really had to deal with the encampments for a while and try to find other housing.
My name is Cullen Ryan, and I'm the Executive Director of Community Housing of Maine. Our organization is unique. We're very small. We're focused on a mission of housing the most vulnerable people that we can find. We provide supportive housing, which is affordable housing enriched with services. And if you look at us country, the last time we had an adequate supply of affordable housing was back in 1977. And we've essentially been on a steady decline ever since. And since the pandemic, it's started to really reveal itself that we don't have a strategy for keeping up or catching up with the great shortage of affordable housing in the country. And that's starting to result in our system, at least in Maine, becoming really stuck because of all that people who can't get into housing in the way that we could just a couple of years ago. And we think that that's only going to trend worse. And the legislature said, hey, we've got to do something about this. The governor said, hey, we've got to do something about that. And they're creating affordable housing faster than we've ever seen. But we're short about 26,000 units in Maine, and their breakneck speed right now is about 750 units. Really fast. But if you think about it, we're 25 years away from actually keeping up with where we need right now.
Seems like to me what's happening is that there's no housing to actually help these people.
Right.
Or shelter of any sustainable kind. And so you have that revolving door because there's nowhere to go, and they're sitting on vouchers for, you know, months and months and months, if not even some years.
Please listen carefully to the following options. For Section 8 information, please press 1. For housing information or to pay rent, please press 2.
Hey, how you doing? I was calling to find out, do you know how long the wait list is for Section 8 by chance?
So for us, for Bangor County, it's 5 to 7 years for Section 8.
Oh, okay. So thank you. So I also got told that the voucher program that there are no vouchers available probably until this time next year. And I did not know if that was true or not. And they said to call you guys.
We are, right now, HUD is not issuing us any vouchers to issue out. I have not been told a timeline for that. So I'm not able to give an accurate timeline for people who are on the Section 8 waiting list to call and ask me for an update. We don't give out spots on the wait list, and right now it's hard to give out an accurate timeline because we're not making any movement on the Section 8 waiting list. I'm also not sure, like I said, when we will start receiving vouchers again. I have not been told.
So there seems to be big flaws in the system where there's no adequate place to actually assist with these folks, and that they get into a system and it kind of bottlenecks up on them, and then the outcome is the street.
Yeah. What I would like to see is that we continue to promote the construction of housing for all levels of income, particularly low, and provide financial support for low to middle income housing. And we need to do that, and I think the city is very supportive of that. I'd like to see transitional housing that's tied to people getting mental health services and some sort of check-in by a social worker or whatever. I think we need more of that. So really, if I had to sum it up, it would be more housing.
We heard that everywhere we went. More housing. We came to learn about what is called the Housing First model. Housing First is an approach that prioritizes connecting long-term, chronically homeless people with safe housing immediately. This approach recognizes that in order to get a job, improve their mental or physical health, and reduce harmful behaviors, a homeless person must first have the foundation of safe housing. The idea is simple. Provide a foundation with 4 walls and a roof, then offer wraparound services like mental health care, addiction treatment, job training, and life skills supports. Participation in these services is encouraged but never required. The goal is to reduce the strain on shelters, hospitals, detox centers, and jails, resources that are already at or near 100% capacity, by housing the chronically homeless first. This frees up space for those just entering homelessness, allowing the system to function as intended. On paper, it works well, but in practice, with an ongoing housing crisis and few affordable options, we saw a different story.
I'm originally from Gulfport, Mississippi. I caught the bus here to, for seasonal work. And when I got here, I was called up here for a job. So I was coming to a job, and when I got to the job wasn't ready yet. So I came out to Bangor to, because I know it's a big city, to get a job or whatever. And ended up, on the streets. Even like I got a job interview today. So when I go to the job interview, even though I get the job, I'll still be homeless because until I get my, first paycheck or whatever, because they don't got like a program here to where if you got a job, okay, we know you can pay rent. We want to put you up in here, you know what I'm saying? They don't got that. So getting a job is like, it ain't solving no fucking problem.
The problem is the system is so backed up, there's nowhere to go for those just arriving. Except one. Bangor's population nearly triples during the summer months. A Maine housing production needs study estimates the state will need 80,000 more homes by 2030 to meet expected growth. Yet in 2023, Bangor approved just 45 new housing units, the same as the year before. With demand surging, rent prices have skyrocketed. A single unit apartment now averages $1,500 a month. Tiny homes, no larger than 320 square feet, list for $1,300. For a city where the median income is just $32,000, that means 55% of earnings go towards rent, nearly double the 30% recommended by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. With Section 8 rental assistance all but dead, the options aren't limited. They're gone.
I got hit with a no-cause eviction, and that's legal in Maine, which it shouldn't be, meaning the landlord can evict you for no reason just because they want to increase the rent. And they should have an encampment for people that do not do drugs and people that do drugs, because everything here is just day, just drugs, shooting up. I mean, they have to have a place where it's safer for us that don't. I mean, this is crazy. Yeah, and at my apartment I was in for 17 years, 18 years, on Section 8, and he wanted to increase the rent, but he couldn't because that was fixed rent. And when he kicked me out for no reason because of that no cause, just so that he could increase the rent. He even told me to my face that's what he was doing.
So you're standing here?
So I'm staying here. I had no choice. I spent last summer at my mother's house in East Corinth. I spent the winter at my daughter's house in OK Park. I mean, it was time that I had to go out, and now I'm here in the tent in Tent City in Bangor.
Well, I'm Dr. Kay Spencer-White. I'm the president and CEO of InhuMaine Homeless Shelter and Services here in Waterville. So housing, let's start with housing first, because I think it's something that most people think about and associate, rightly they should, as a key solution to solving homelessness. At the heart of Housing First is housing. It's the first word for a reason. A couple of things to note about Housing First. It's really targeted at a certain subpopulation of people experiencing homelessness, and those are people who have been chronically homeless, which is federally defined as people who have been homeless for a year or longer, who have had multiple episodes of being unhoused over a defined period of years, or people who are experiencing addiction. That's who Housing First is for, so it works great for that subpopulation. There's also the larger percentage, and that chronically homeless, that subpopulation, that Housing First population, is any given community probably somewhere between 15 and 25% of the population. That leaves up 75% or more of your local population experiencing homelessness for whom Housing First is not the right intervention.
I never was afraid to work for what I had been earned, but now I'm a disabled person. I have no way, I can't do it. So I'm relying on Social Security, disability, and my pension for my lifetime. Well, it's just not enough. And there's no possible way you save that much money and you still eat. So you have to panhandle and you sleep in the woods.
The problem is we don't have enough housing to move people through the system that quickly, right? There's no exit destination. There's no supply of affordable housing. It's like musical chairs, if you think about it like this. We've all played musical chairs, right? You've got 10 people and you've got 9 chairs, and everybody's got to walk around. Whoever gets to 9 chairs first, they're the people who are going to get a chair, right? The 10th person is going to be left out. If you have a child or a mobility issue or addiction or mental health, it's going to be harder for you to race to that chair than the person who's fully physically fit and 21 years old and an athlete. That person is going to get the chair first, right? You are going to have a harder time finding that chair. That's literally what housing is like in a market where housing affordability is now the biggest cause of homelessness. There's just housing supply and cost, supply and demand, right? We have a supply side issue. We don't have enough supply. Costs are going up, and so anybody who's got anything in their profile that's going to make it more difficult for them to compete in that market, those are the folks who are going to become unhoused first.
So everybody looks at you like you're nobody, you're nothing. Now you shouldn't be out there, why don't you get a job? When they say that to me, I don't know if I want to kill them or just start bawling. Well, this morning I started bawling. I couldn't deal with it. Being out here isn't no fun. And, I just want people to know out there that we are trying. But society can't do it. And, I haven't seen my daughter in 3 years because I can't afford to live where she is. And that is just pitiful, man. I love her more than anyone on this planet. And I'm going to be a senior citizen now in 6 days. So I'll get my regular Social Security, and hopefully it'll be enough so that I can afford a place to get up off the ground.
The cost to build is now so expensive that developers in Maine can't go and do that. We need funding. If you don't want to see people in tents, if you don't want to have encampments, if you do not want to have sanctioned encampments, which I'm happy to talk about sanctioned encampments as well. Terrible, 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 terrible things for us to accept as Mainers. If you don't want those things, and if you believe that everybody belongs in a house or a home, right, then what we've got to do is fund the interim housing, and right now, nobody wants to do that. The research shows us that encampments, people have dramatically higher risks of street violence. That includes just garden variety assaults, sexual assaults, human trafficking, right? Off the charts when you are existing in an encampment, not to mention communicable diseases and other things that are rampant. If that's not where people should be, right? If we can agree collectively that's not the solution, and we don't have enough housing, we've got to figure out how to fund interim housing. It's the only safe alternative to just letting people sleep in the street.
The Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention is seeing a major spike in HIV cases in Penobscot County.
Community organizations and medical professionals are concerned about the spike and are working to mitigate the spread.
So I have been working in the field of, I guess, unhoused people, criminal justice, domestic violence, and sexual assault for about 23 years. In March, we learned that we have one case of HIV. And that one case of HIV has emerged, we believe, from this encampment.
Health Equity Alliance started as Down East AIDS Network in 1987, providing medical case management for people living with HIV/AIDS. That's when it was a death sentence. We have about 150 clients, and today we only have one that's detectable, which means it's not transmittable. That's remarkable. In that short amount of time, we've conquered, or nearly conquered, something that was so scary just not that long ago. We serve Penobscot County, Piscataqua County, Aroostook County, Washington County, Hancock County, about 150 folks on our patient list. We get 1 or 2 new cases a year.
Recently, the Maine Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has identified a major spike in the disease there. Since October, they say there have been 13 diagnosed HIV cases.
More than 80% are connected to those experiencing homelessness, and 100% of the cases were from injection drug use.
So all these months, we have information on a website that says how many cases we have. Those of us who are lucky enough to have titles that put us up the ladder a bit, meet weekly to discuss it and to talk about testing, talk about putting up flyers, and talk about talking to folks to make sure that they know that they can be tested. We do a lot of talking. I'm feeling like we're not doing a whole lot of action.
For the past 2.5 months, 3 months now, they've been saying they want to send doctors up here and shit to help us with the drug. Like, it's not okay. Like they just said, there's 14 or more cases up here. Who knows? All of us could have it up here and we're just not there, just not saying anything about it. But this city really needs to actually buckle down and realize the truth that yes, there are a lot of people up here that have HIV, including myself. They really do need to send us either doctors or a medical team that can come out here and help us get the help that we need. Because without this medication, HIV is still a death sentence. You can still die from it. Because HIV then turns to AIDS, and after AIDS, you will die. You'll die from it.
Sometimes I feel like the solution maybe in somebody's mind or some people's minds are maybe they'll just die off. Mid-September, the CDC started working on a crisis response. So I've done crisis work for years. I understand what a crisis response is. Crisis response is that there is a disaster. Crisis response just happened down south because of flooding. I feel like a crisis response that has come about, it's a little late, and I'm not sure what our plan of action is.
Yeah, I'm brave enough to talk about the hard stuff. We need a clinic right in the middle of that place, period. That not just gives them needles and gives them tested, you know, gives them food, gives them blankets, whatever they need. We need to get, that's the thing I learned about getting out there and doing HIV testing and Hep C testing in the community, was go where they're at, which takes more time and resources, but you also can learn a lot more that way. That's what I would do, is I would have a van every day right there, providing all of the healthcare services that those people need.
HIV is not going to stay sealed within this encampment. It probably has jumped out already.
The city is trying to keep it contained and saying it's contained here, but it's not. People can leave whenever they want, use drugs where and with whoever they want, leave their paraphernalia wherever. People can get stuck by that paraphernalia and catch HIV. They can have sex with whoever they want, and that spreads it.
If anybody spends time up there, you'll see that there's plenty of cars that come and go from up there. There's a variety of things happening, most likely. Probably people are coming in maybe to buy drugs. People are coming in to sell drugs. People are either coming there looking for sex workers or maybe being dropped off. You never know. But there's plenty of people who are doing the work up there because that's how you survive. That's also how you spread HIV.
I think one of the hardest things to reconcile is the reality that the homeless sector is affiliated with the housing sector. And then we have DHHS, Health and Human Services, and we're siloed, right? We serve similar population and sometimes we overlap a little bit, but for the most part, homeless services providers, shelter providers, and room housing providers, we focus on housing. And then the healthcare people are over there doing their thing. My healthcare is intimately connected to my housing status. When I feel safe and secure in my housing, I'm more likely to access preventative care or routine care, and I'll be in a place where I don't like choice theory, but right, I'm in a place where I can make rational decisions about how I'm going to live my life, choices I'm going to make. When you're unhoused, that space for rationality to occur, it's gone, right? It's a very reactive place to be. It's a very physically, emotionally, and spiritually painful place to be. And unless we recognize that people are going to find ways to connect and find connection, find pleasure, and find community in these very, very dark individual and collective spaces, we're not going to be able to bridge that gap between the housing crisis and the healthcare crisis.
The system is completely broken. They had no answers. They had no one even looking into it. HUD came up with some people who looked around, get threw some money at them. What are they going to do? They didn't do it right. They said, here's the property, come on in, with whatever you got. We don't care what you have, just come on in. They didn't regulate it, they didn't care about it, they just let everybody go and do what they want to do. They needed to start right off and do the right thing, and they didn't. They just don't want to see us. That's why they took all of the outer areas away. They don't want people to know we're here. Just forget about the house, the homeless, they'll go away.
How many people do you know since you've given over passed away?
I know 6, 7, 8 that I know. But people are dying. People are overdosing in numbers that you wouldn't believe. I saved 19 people. There's people in here saved 50, 60 people. This is Tent City. This is 6, 7, 8 years in. And now we're going to go out in the wintertime. And we're going to lose more people. More people are going to die.
People have been fucking dying for all these years that I've been doing this work. Not a whole lot has changed.
Homeless is not a hot topic for anybody. I realize that. But these people are human. I am human. We have problems, and a lot of people are 1 or 2 paychecks from being homeless.
This life that we are allowing, that we are kind of fucking supporting, just allowing it to happen without caring what happens. Now we have HIV. Now it's suddenly a disaster. Now we suddenly have a disaster response that is a few months a little late. And what are we doing in this disaster response? We're making sure that people know that they can get tested for free. We're making sure that they know that HIV is in the community. We're thinking about different action items to help figure out how we can maybe get infectious disease docs out there. But
they're not worried about that because we don't exist. Nobody can see us.
God, we're really worried about fucking violence. We're worried about how these folks might react. And we're worried about ourselves. You know, the danger is HIV. It's not the people who are living outside. That's the danger.
We came to find that homelessness isn't the problem after all. It's the result. When you combine the drug abuse crisis, a mental illness crisis, a housing crisis, an HIV crisis, and the healthcare crisis, you get a homeless crisis. In times of crisis, we turn to our leaders. 2 days prior to the 2024 election, with temperatures rising between Democrats and Republicans, we attended a campaign dinner with local and state officials. With so many critical issues at stake, we got the chance to ask a question.
Thank you so much, we were curious about your opinion on the homeless issue that's affecting the area, along with the HIV here in Montana.
As Secretary of State, I represent all of you. And first and foremost, I think it's important to recognize that every person has the right to participate in our democracy, to be afforded respect and dignity and opportunity. In Maine, we are really proud that everyone has the right to vote, no exception. That includes people experiencing homelessness or who aren't housed. My office also partners with providers to ensure that everyone who is experiencing homelessness has the opportunity to get an ID or a driver license, because that is a passport for services, housing, and other opportunities. So I think first and foremost, let's treat each other as humans. Let's ensure that everyone has the right to participate in our democracy and our society.
We had hoped for a better ending, a response to the things we witnessed, an answer. And in the end, we got one.
City of Bangor plans to close the homeless encampment commonly referred to as Camp Hope by the end of the year.
We have concerns for their physical, mental well-being, and that's really what's driving.
Factors cited for the decision include the presence of drug trafficking, activities such as injectable drug use that increase public health concerns, and a rise in violent crime in an area that's next to a university campus.
Bangor's target closure date for Camp Hope, December 31st of this year, aligns with the opening of 41 new housing units in the city. It's located on Cleveland Street, right next to the encampment in question. The intent is to provide housing to chronically unhoused individuals in the Bangor community.
A sweep tends to mean you go in with no resources, you remove everybody's items against their will. There is nothing that we have said or nothing we intend to do that resembles that.
I don't know. This is kind of crazy. Kind of crazy to think about.
Where are you going to go after this? Seriously.
On a serious note, I will probably go further out of town. I've got family in Rangeley. I've got a couple of places out in Glenburn, out in the woods that I know of that I can be. And we've probably got close to 150, 200 people here, at least, minimum. I don't know where everyone's going to go. You think about it, it's just going to be in your face. If they kick us all out of here, it's going to be right in the city, right in front of you instead of on the outskirts. There's only 41 units in that Pine Tree Inn, but they've got, and there's 50 people working at that, 70 something without workers and not working with, just strictly being homeless. And there's like 25 that are kind of question marks. I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're going to do.
For the next 10, 15 minutes, however long is needed for you all to be heard, we're going to open the microphone up. So anyone among you who wishes to speak, especially those, we're going to give priority to those from the encampment and those who are sleeping outside. And then afterwards, those of you who still want to stick around, we're going to go into the city council meeting to give testimony, because they've been so kind as to have a public comment section in there. So we're going to go in there and make sure our voices are heard and our presence is felt. Not all houseless people are living in encampments. In fact, Maine, who had a houseless population of 1,200 back in 2019, now has a houseless population of over 5,000. It's increased by over 400% in just 5 years. And that doesn't account for the people living in precarious housing, as I just mentioned, couch surfing, forced to move back home, and others who are finding the existing affairs untenable, but haven't made it to the point where they're living at Camp Hope. The actual number of unhoused people is much higher. The median home price in 2019 was $200,000. In 2021, $220,900. In 2022, $255,300. 2023 is $360,000, and in 2024, the average housing price is $391,000 in Maine. That's a 78.5% increase in just 5 years for the cost of housing. My friends, have wages gone up 75.5% in the last 5 years? Are you getting paid 78.5% more than you were 5 years ago? Then how are people supposed to make this work? Before we get our program started, I wanted to ask you all to join us in a brief moment of silence for Joey, who died at the encampment recently.
We love you, Joey.
We love you, Joey. Joey was a victim of the violence of the system that is not always as obvious as the way that he died, and that a lot of our friends experience out here every day.
Yeah, my friend Joe, he didn't deserve to burn up like this. It's a cycle that works around here, I guess. If somebody burns up one time a year, for the last 5 years, something's happening up here with these fires. This is what happens, you blow up in a friggin' tent, you know? It's not cool, man. It's not cool at all, where they're putting us through this stuff. And it's the town could help us out a lot more. I mean, they do what they can do. I thank God they do what they do as it is, but it's not enough.
I am a resident of the greater Bangor area, but specifically an advocate who works with the houseless population in Bangor and who has worked against houseless sweeps across the country for the past 15 years. The trajectory that I have seen in sweeping houseless populations has been that people die of drug overdose more frequently when these places are swept because they are in isolated areas. People have less access to resources because those of us who are advocates, who provide resources on a regular basis, on a weekly and daily basis to these communities, cannot access everyone. When everyone is spread out and dispersed in places where we cannot find them, then we cannot serve them. So the results of sweeps are more bodies on our hands because we can't keep them alive if we don't know where they are. People don't have phones. People don't have places to charge their devices. So it's really hard to contact folks when they're dispersed out of communities. Like, I have lost contact with so many of the people that I used to support in Denver because of the houseless sweep that happened there. I have no idea where they are. I can foresee the same thing happening with the people that I work with here today. A lot of people's housing right now cannot be moved. For example, there are campers there. If those campers are moved, they will fall apart. And the moment those campers fall apart, that person has nowhere warm to stay. I know that there is not room in the city budget at this point in time set aside for paying people for campers to be somewhere else, for paying for replacing all of the tents and blankets and things that are going to be removed. And so if we want to best reserve our resources, we will allow people to live where they are right now. Thank you so much for your time. Again, I'm an advocate who works directly with Camp Hope on a regular basis. And the people there truly matter to me.
The city announced its decision to delay the closure of Tent City until February 28th. Construction of the pine tree took longer than expected. It is a brief reprieve, not a resolution. Like so many decisions, this happened without the homeless community's knowledge or consent. For the unseen, life-altering decisions are made in boardrooms and offices far removed from their daily needs, leaving them to grapple with uncertainty and powerlessness. A stark reminder of a system struggling to keep pace with reality. Winter has returned. The biting cold of the holiday season cuts deeper than ever, turning survival into an impossible struggle. The people most affected are left with dwindling resources, without answers, and without hope. Amid the health crisis, the CDC shut down Health Equity Alliance, formerly known as the Down East AIDS Network and the city's largest provider of clean needles to the homeless community. Since the closure, a 15th case of HIV has been confirmed. Sporadic testing efforts continue, but few are willing to confront it. The fear of knowing outweighs the need for answers that could shatter what little stability they have left. On December 23rd, in the span of 10 hours, signs were posted, dumpsters and machines arrived, and the cleanup of Tent City abruptly began. No announcements, no warning, no media coverage. Just another example of the chaos that comes with existing here. We didn't learn about it until Christmas Day. By then, Tent City had turned into a ghost town. Reports say some are being housed, but we've seen this cycle before, and we know how it often turns out. The true number of people existing there is hard to know. In fact, the true number of homeless people in the country at any given time is almost impossible to know. Required by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Maine Continuum of Care oversees the statewide point-in-time count. The point-in-time, or PIT count, is an annual survey of people experiencing homelessness. The data collected influences the amount of federal funding Maine receives to provide programs, services, and resources. Volunteers head out to hand count the homeless population, but this approach often results in undercounting, low numbers, and inadequate funding, failing to capture the true scale of homelessness. One month before the reported closure of Tent City, one day before the end of the point-in-time count, on one of the coldest days of the year, this happened. The city shut down the encampment. Anything here is prohibited. We have shown you the significant issues. We have tried our best to remain unbiased. But the reality is impossible to ignore. Behavioral health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. Is there anything left? Anything? It is said that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. We say, this is InhuMaine. This is more than just a survey. It's a critical opportunity to not only gather data, but to ask deeper questions. Pause and consider what it means to exist in this chaos. To feel the cold seep into every layer of your being. To search endlessly for hope, only to find it slipping further away. To trust in a system that feels indifferent, hostile. The stigma is real. We are all a part of it. To be overwhelmed by a life that feels unrecognizable. Forget for a moment assigning fault or tracing the path of decisions and consequences that led here. Domestic violence, poverty, substance abuse, mental illness, whatever the trauma, whatever the reason, this is someone's reality. Someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's brother or sister, someone's mother or father, someone's grandparent, someone's loved one. It's you. It's me. It's a human being. And as the sun rises each day with timeless grace, indifferent to the mountains it casts its shadows upon, a struggle almost impossible to fathom, as overwhelming and rare as a once-in-a-lifetime eclipse. And yet, here we watch, just watching it unfold. Perhaps it's time to do more than just watch. Perhaps.
show InhuMaine, again to Lorraine, Norman, and Robin from the Freedom and Justice Summit of 2025 for bringing this together as well. And let's have a talk. Anybody got anything they want to say, anything they want to ask? Yeah, I think you're right. Keep showing this is a definite good way to get a conversation going, for sure. That's a great question. Yeah, I'm not the city of Bangor. I couldn't tell you. I can tell you based on the newspaper articles that the Teresa's place is just opened not too long ago, so it took over 6 or 7 more additional months. So some people got to go there, but the majority of the people, when you disperse an encampment, it's like anything, you go where you want to go. Reported just this week, the CDC came out and said that the 30th positive case for HIV has now been recorded. I'm here to tell you that it was 30 a long time ago, and I think that it's more like 50, but that's just between other professionals in the community without getting into any kind of thing. But the numbers are skewed, and where people went, I couldn't tell you. There is no solid encampment in the city of Bangor. There are folks that are together in different areas, but again, all of that is more in the woods, more remote. And in today's world, I mean, you read the newspaper, you listen to anything on the news, politics, government funding, we have a federal government shutdown going on right now. Money is halted, grants are halted. Here in the North Country, it's snowing in Millinocket this afternoon, my son said, on his way here. We're like, what, 30 degrees tonight, easily? So there's a difference that's going on. Yeah.
We have a question over here. You were right, we definitely needed the tissues, like you said at the beginning. I was just curious, based on your opinion of making the documentary, working in this field, I try not to create like a boogeyman of any kind, because it's multifaceted. But something that really struck me was how people in Bangor are not from Bangor. And where Maine is so remote, we're kind of off the map. Do you think the people, in your opinion, of course, sending these people in need to Maine know that Maine is not a place where they can get help? Or do you think they know Maine isn't and they're just trying to do the same thing as everywhere else, or we're just trying to get rid of the problem wherever it will go? Because I do think that some people do view Maine as still like, oh, there's tons of resources, there's not a lot of people there, just because we are off the grid a bit more.
Loaded question, and the simple answer is that, like anything, out of sight, out of mind, right? On the back of the license plate, it says Maine is what? The vacation land, right? So if you're gonna make my vacation look ugly, then I don't want you around, because I want the tourists to come that will build commerce, that will keep things flush and happening, and businesses and livelihood, prosperity. If you notice in the film, I start off with Acadia National Park and I end with Baxter. Those are two big heavyweights as far as tourists go, right? On different sides. I start with a sunrise and I bring it to the level of, I didn't do it, but it just happened to be a once in a lifetime eclipse, right? And the sun is our life source. So everything up in Maine has a life source, but its economy is really, really becoming the vacation. So out of sight, out of mind is a way a lot of the affluent communities are dealing with homelessness. But the other areas, to get to your point, is that they have this understanding that we're such a big area and we all have a big kind heart that we'll take care of people. We're not going to let anybody go without something. We're going to do our best, right? So sending folks here on the Greyhound therapy that you see, that you heard from the police, that you heard from a lot of the other folks, is becoming just the standard and norm. So I don't know if the folks realize what they're getting into when they come to good old Bangor, especially in November, December, January, February, March, April, and May. But that's the trend.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Rich.
So you know the history, you know I was almost 20 years in Bangor area. I can tell you this was a problem when I started. This was a problem when I started in law enforcement back in, when was that? The beginning, 1992.
Yeah.
And it was acknowledged. The biggest complaint was we don't have funding. We don't have funding. We know it isn't important. And again, I've watched this. I've lived in Bangor my whole life, 54 years, and I've watched this problem grow. You and I talked about it at length. The frustrating thing for me was I can't tell you how many times that I was embedded with these people, great people, good people, wanted help, that I go buy a sandwich for or whatever. And then you talk to the local governments, the state governments, the federal governments, and I've been to DC as a liaison with the Rural Housing Authority for HUD conferences talking about this. And I can tell you, answering partly her question when I was involved, it's out of sight, out of mind for you, but we're just trying to get rid of the problem. And that saying, I know Jason McCann, and him saying that this is the last bus stop, that was the same way it was back then. Nothing's changing. So, you know, I just pulled this up real quick, looking at, because all of this costs money. The money is there. It's just getting the legislators, the people, they all acknowledge it. Shanabella was talking about, let's break the right to vote and the right for driver's license. That doesn't help them immediately. You know what I mean? But she means well, I'm sure, but that's not helpful. The state, I just pulled this up, the state of Maine is showing $152.2 million general fund surplus. $34.5 million of that came from unspent money from prior budgets. I've seen this, I've been out of law enforcement 15 years, I did almost 20. It was the same frustrating thing that we fought for them, for unhoused people, for whether it's substance abuse issues, even people that are housed, the same idea. What's it going to take to get the people that can provide the money, the governments and whatnot, because they don't acknowledge it, it doesn't seem like they want to do anything. Instead, they're going to have a surplus of multi-millions of dollars. That's, you know, and I don't know if you know the answer, but I know you've been embedded, you've been to the state, you know. That, to me, that's what it's going to take. It's not just the acknowledgement, not just saying, oh, it's providing that funding, what you guys are all working towards and have done, you know, partially. But it's just super frustrating to watch, you know, and I just wonder what it's going to take to pick a few million of this extra surplus money just in the state that could be super helpful to all of those people.
I love your question. Actually, there's a group behind you that might have an answer that could help. Saja, if you wouldn't mind.
Hi, my name is Linda, and this is my friend Murray, and we're both organizers with the Maine chapter of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for more work. I wish I had spoke before the movie because I'm really emotional about the whole thing now. But the Poor People's Campaign kind of fits into this in the sense that we are reviving the movement of Martin Luther King Jr. and others from the civil rights movement and continuing the work about these interlocking injustices in the United States of systemic racism and poverty and ecological devastation, the war economy, the denial of health care, and then this false narrative that we're a Christian nation, and that we use that excuse to allow all these other things to happen, to justify and sustain all of these other injustices that we have. So the Poor People's Campaign is a movement that is trying to bring political power to the 140 million people in this country who are poor and low income, and trying to bring that power to Congress and state legislatures to generate policies that are going to remedy these issues, because that's what we need, and we need policies that are going to guarantee people a living wage and housing and voting rights and free healthcare, for everyone. So we call ourselves a moral movement because we're rooted in religious and constitutional beliefs, and we believe that everybody has a right to live and justice for all. And then we're also considered a fusion movement because we understand that what we're fighting for, that all of these injustices are intertwined, and you can't fix one without fixing the other. And the bottom line is, in order for us to succeed and to answer these questions, we all have to come out of our individual silos and come together and work in solidarity for these common goals. So if there's anyone who's interested in the Poor People's Campaign, you can look it up to poorpeoplescampaign.org or talk to Maria or myself. But we're at that place now, like you're saying, the government is shut down. There are people who are willing to donate and help, but that is not the answer that we need in this country. We need legislation, moral legislation that lifts from the bottom so that everybody rises.
Thank you so much. So one of the things that I try to show you in InhuMaine is that there's an economy behind homelessness. You got to see politicians, they defend, they stand, they talk, they preach, they do whatever, but there's money behind all of it, right? You see all those nonprofits getting together, and you see one nonprofit that's, funding a program all by themselves. Literally tell you, like, the nonprofits are supposed to work together, but we don't do a very good job at it, right? Because there's actually an economy behind the homelessness. And the thing is that when you get into this and you start doing a little bit of the fundamental research, the way the state is organized, you saw the point in time count, the pit count. Guys, people ask me, like, what is the big takeaway that in doing the InhuMaine that you learned of? For me, the pit count kept me up for weeks. The fact that we're out there at the end of January, 0 degrees, after dark, going to go up to people's homes, tents, right? And be like, hi, excuse me, friend, how many are in there, and what's going on, and can we help you with something, right? And we're going to go find you all over the woods and all over these different areas so that we can, after dark, freezing cold, mark down this little sheet and then submit it to be able to gain profits and get a portion or a percentage from the federal government and the state of Maine to be able to go out there and do our jobs. We're not doing that in July or August, when people are like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, we're having a barbecue or whatever's going on. We're doing that in the middle of winter, after dark. Who's going to answer the call? I don't know about you, but if I'm that person who has to be out on the streets, I'm going to find a new friend who's going to let me sleep in a car, in a house, in an apartment, in a hotel, something, because it's 0 degrees outside. And no, I'm not going to answer you in my tent while I've got 10,000 pounds of clothing or blankets on me trying to keep me warm, while you want to count how many 1, 2, 3, 4 little homeless folks so that you can try to get some money to keep your nonprofit going that's just spiraling around and around and around and around. So I try to present, without my personal opinion, the wholeness of what this is in Bangor. And this is a microcosm of what's going on in the country. My wife and I have had the pleasure of being able to travel these last couple of years to Vancouver City in Canada. And we've spoken to some officials over there, and their problem is into the hundreds of millions of dollars. In Seattle, Washington, hundreds of millions of dollars. We were just in August at San Francisco. Hundreds of millions. I mean, in San Francisco, there's a street called Tenderloin, and it's like 2 or 3 blocks away from a very expensive avenue where you have Burberry, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but Hermes or Hermes, and $4,000 shoes in the window, Rolls Royces and Bentleys and all kinds of luxury and expenses and all this good stuff. And like 2 blocks away, people are just tilted and really having a hard time. And it doesn't even equate, I mean, it's like just crossing the aisle about how devastating we are to one another, and how we don't see it, and how we think it's going to go away. And I'm here to tell you that for InhuMaine, on the simple side of things, this problem is going to absolutely avalanche, and you don't think it might have anything to do with you today, but within 3 years to 5 years, your tax dollars are going to be going to this problem. And in 3 to 5 years, this problem is going to literally be a tsunami that comes in because it's not getting any better. The state of Maine is over 51% dependent upon Maine care. That budget just got cut by 30%. There's 30,000, no, don't take that. 30% is wrong. 30,000 people no longer will have Maine care next year because of the adjustment. That's true. That's 30,000 people that don't qualify for Maine care. That's their health care. What do they get to qualify for? And I don't know if you've been listening, but everything in healthcare, what once was approved, isn't approved, and those numbers were, I'm making as an exaggeration, but kind of close to it. If it cost you $100 a month for your health care, it's now going to cost you like $500 a month next year for your health care. So there's some real devastating news that's happening that's going to affect the lives of here in Maine. So this is a microcosm of what's going on in the greater part of America, and you're going to see this problem just unfortunately continue. As Rich was saying, it's been going on for a real long time. It's just going to exasperate everything that we can ever think of, because there's no one answer to fix this. It's not just mental health. It's not just drugs, alcohol, behavioral health. It's not just poverty. It's not just affordable housing. It's not lack of housing. It's not. It's a Rubik's cube of humanity.
I was just, well, the film, which I've seen a couple of times, is very moving, and I want to thank you for it. I want to say a quick anecdote, because I, like a lot of people here, have been working in these fields for a while, and to say ever that there's a lack of money or a lack of resources out of bullshit. There's a lot of money coming in to the state right now that is being used for the opioid abuse epidemic that we have that's killing so many people. And I was personally on some committee. I'm 77, I've been on hundreds of committees. And I was on one where I had talked to a man a couple of days before, and he had been crying, and he had been saying, I'm in a motel, I think I'm gonna make it. He was out, he had gotten out of prison. He said, I'm gonna make it, I don't have to go, I got somewhere to live. And I was speaking 2 days later to the head of the opioid commission who's responsible for giving out money. And I said, there are men and women in motels in the winter is coming. Can we tell them that they're gonna stay just over the winter? Absolutely, you can tell them. Absolutely. He was out, kicked out. Everybody was kicked out 2 days later. And I'm not saying what he did was the right thing. He was desperate. He was offered a safe place, what he thought was a safe place to stay. He's now back in prison because the safe place was a place where he had to commit crimes to stay there. And it was just very visceral. It was like, really? I told him, I gave him my word, because I had been told by the head of the opioid commission, no, the money's there. Janet Mills is keeping the money. Don't worry about it. The money's there. We said in a public statement. and they were all kicked out the next day. The other thing I just want to say, I just share that because I believe that people here care about that kind of thing. The other thing I want to say is the whole point of Artivism in Maine and what we do, it's really what we find so fascinating and interesting about you, Rogan, is that your response to this was to turn it into a piece of art, to you know, all your passion and your feelings, you made a movie out of it. And we're really interested in supporting people who call themselves artists or just call themselves human beings, and whatever the issue is, whatever you care about deeply, whether it's homelessness or whether it's the opioid abuse epidemic or the many, many, many issues. You know, we're interested in supporting that spark in you, that determination, because I think, because you've done this movie, a lot of people are going to be affected and interested and maybe made angrier than they were. Whatever will happen, but because you as an artist, as a human, have used your passion in this way, then it's going to reach a lot of people. So I just want to say that that's what the rest of this, if you want to call it a conference, whatever it is, it's really about what is your passion and how can we help support it. So you stay alive yourself, you stay nourished and alive, and then you respond to what you care about deeply. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Lorraine. Lorraine brings up a great part. There is an artist in the room somewhere. There she is. Some of her art's being displayed. What does Artivism mean to you, June?
Well, I am very nervous to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to have my art, my heart, as I will say, on display. My art is something that has quite literally kept me alive. It is a bit of mental health and a bit of my recovery journey. And I'm happy to talk about any other pieces if you're curious. But to me, art is something that is a really beautiful opportunity to express yourself, to be able to say something without having to speak a word. And it's been liberating for me to be able to get through my recovery journey on a canvas. And because of art, I can say I'm alive today.
June was also one of the participants that we interviewed at Health Equity Alliance in InhuMaine. Besides her being, in my opinion, a fantastic artist, she's also a real humanitarian in the cause of mental health, behavioral health, and the demographic of the population that InhuMaine was talking about. I want to take a couple seconds to introduce another person who is in the film. Happens to be my oldest son, Gavin O'Donnell, who helped us with the sound. In his perspective, when we did this, Gav, how old were you?
It was 20.
Right. What was your take and thought of your dad running around doing this?
It was quite a humbling experience for me to be involved in it, you know, and especially a lot of the times that I was helping with a lot of the interviews and stuff like that, it was the dead of winter. It was cold, we were running around, you know, talking to people, and to go home afterwards and eat a hot meal and take a warm shower and lay in bed and turn the TV on, and I'm kind of like, it's one step away for a lot more people than I think we realize, and it's scary to think that, but it was scary to think. I shouldn't say scary, but it was interesting to see how you would deal with it, because when I was doing it, I got to step away afterwards and kind of go back to kind of doing my own thing, and you kept it going. So I was wondering, you know, how it was for you processing all the different pieces of it and how you were able to keep it going and not get stuck, because it was tough for me, and I don't know that I would have been able to keep it going when you were able to. So I was wondering that, how were you able to kind of put your own feelings aside?
Nice twist. I see you. Okay. Nice, thanks. Great question. To be dead honest with you guys, I'm 35 years recovering drug addict alcoholic, and yeah, thank you. And I have a real spiritual way for myself. I do a lot of prayer and meditation in the mornings. Actually, I do like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert at a minimum, is what I say. Taking time, and I do a lot of walking in nature. Living in Maine is all about the nature for me. This was given to me as a gift through a whisper of the wind. No lie. It said, tell their story. I started off with talking to somebody who was homeless, and I offered them a coffee and a bagel, and I didn't want anything from them except to see them, let them talk, hear them, and share me too. And that conversation, they said, you gotta come and check out Tent City. And I was like, I don't know what Tent City is. And I went and saw Tent City, and that's when, the next day, tell their story. Everything you see there, I couldn't have scripted if I tried on my very best. I wouldn't have been able to tell you it was gonna be an HIV scare. I wouldn't have been able to tell you that they're going to sweep an encampment and take these people out just before Christmas. But just before Christmas, I don't care about the religion. It's a holiday, right? And, come on, right? And that these people, right, wrong, or indifferent, as I say, it's someone's mom, dad, brother, sister. We're somebody to somebody. No matter what, we're somebody to somebody. And to be treated in that kind of manner in 2025 is just inhumane. So the story is a gift, and my job was to make sure I was able to give it. And I'm just trying my best to get it out there, like you said, Susan. And I hope that you guys can help me get it out there further and present it more, so we can have conversations like this. Because nobody has the right answer. Nobody has a wrong answer. As long as we're talking about it and thinking about it, we'll end up doing something about it. If anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to answer. We can do it live, we can do it afterwards, whatever you would like to do. Yes, yes, yes. Hold on 1 second, if you can have a microphone, I can barely hear you. I'm going deaf.
So the past week, I've been when I spoke with Loaves and Fishes, and when we had a Healthy Acadia here in Ellsworth, just on a local level to see what's going on, especially on the SNAP benefits and everything. And having a little cafe over there, and just hoping there's ways I could help everybody out. And when I went down to Healthy Acadia, it was like that whole film. Shuffling the beds around and who's what place to stay. They do an amazing job now. So I'm gonna try to help them out. And Loaves and Fishes is gonna supply me with the food and do Christmas dinner and Thanksgiving this year for free, so they can all come and have it. And, I think, like they were saying over there, we need to all come together to solve this problem, not just one little non-profit and this and together. But, for some reason, it really doesn't work together. They want to have their name on it, they don't want to fight it and make it big. So it's not about that, it's about taking care of people, actually. So, it's a problem here in Ellsworth, too, it's everywhere, so we have to fix it.
Thank you. Yes? Okay. I'm happy to